Hello, it's week 21 of season 4 of the Andy Griffith Show. This week's episode title is The Shoplifters. Barney's got his badge back this week. He was missing it last week. Sorry about that. Barney, what's going on in The Shoplifters?
Andy and I are sitting in the squad car watching folks in town as they walk by. And I was just about to tell Andy what I had heard about Naira Kuntz, but then we see Den Weather standing in front of this department store, waving his arms at us. He wants us to come over. So we go over there, and Den tells us that stuff has gone missing out of this store. And I say, well, somebody's walking off with that stuff. That's what's happening.
So you all go in the store, and you want to lock the doors right away and line all the customers up against the wall and start searching them. But Ben and Andy won't let you do that because they want to be more discreet.
So I start walking around the store, looking around, while Andy keeps talking to Den. And Den wants police protection in the store right now. And he wants Andy to get the stealing stopped right away. And Andy says the best thing he can do is to tell Den to call us if he sees anything suspicious going on, and we'll come right over. And Den is not real happy with that answer, and we leave. And then later that day, I call Thelma Lou, and I tell her this thing tonight, honey, the movies, well, I'm afraid it's out. Something big has come out. Police business, a stakeout at Weather's store. Yeah, they've been moving stuff out of there, and I've got a hunch they'll be back tonight. And I tell her I'm going to be doing this alone, because Andy's a family man, and if anything happens, I want her to know that she's the only one I ever gave a hoot for.
But before you get there, Mr. Weaver comes in to check on things himself. He comes in through the back door, and he leaves it unlocked, and he sees the night watchman, Asa, asleep. And he's about to yell at him, but then he sees your flashlight beam from outside through the window.
Yeah, and when I find the back door unlocked, I come in with my gun drawn. And Mr. Weather dumps into some lamps, and he makes some noise. And then I dump into some dolls, and I make some noise. And we chase each other around. And then Andy comes in to check on things himself. And then Asa wakes up. And Andy says he thinks Den is not being robbed at night, but by shoplifters during the day. Because if they were coming at night, they would have been here by now. Plus they'd be taking more than just the 10 or 12 items that Den has noticed missing. And the next day in the courthouse, I tell Andy my theory. I ask him, whose store is being robbed? Who's going to collect the insurance on those thefts? And who was creeping around in that store last night? And Andy still don't get it, so I say Weather. Weather is stealing from his own store for the insurance.
And Andy says, Weaver's no crook. He's one of the most respected church-going citizens in town. He knows every hymn in the book.
And I say that's just a front. You watch him sometime when we're singing Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. He don't even know the words. He just moves his lips. And Andy still disagrees. And he sends me over there to take a look through the store when they open. And then he comes over about an hour later, and I call him over, I'm working in disguise, and I say I've got my eye on the shoplifter right now. And I tell him to go away and wait for my signal.
But then that little boy Leon, the one who's always got a half-eaten sandwich offering to everybody, gives you away, as well as two ladies who recognize you. And then Mr. Weaver comes over.
And I say, well, I'm going to have to make my move now, Andy. And I walk over to a lady, and I say, all right, sweetheart, the game is up. This is the end of the line for you. She's the one, all right. She's a stranger in town, too. And she denies it, and she empties out her bag, got nothing but her knitting and a Bible in it, and she threatens to sue, and Mr. Weather gets real mad, and Andy takes me outside. And I say I seen her with my own eyes. Now, I couldn't have been wrong. I just couldn't. And Andy starts to lecture me about never making an accusation of shoplifting inside a store. And then he says he has a hunch on this case himself. That same lady walks out of the store, and Andy has her stepped on a bathroom scale, and it says 163, way too heavy for her. So he opens up her overcoat to reveal all this stuff that she was stealing. And I yell, look at that, a traveling pawn shop. See, I told you I saw her with my own eyes. See, I had her cold. And Andy says he knew when he bumped into her in the store, and she clanked. And once we have her in jail, I say, well, the Weather case is solved and closed. try to put something over on the law around here. It feels good to be able to relax.
But then you notice that she had taken your gun without you noticing. We'll see you next week for episode 22.